Okay, so I guess today I'm gonna talk about manga and anime and like my favorites. And okay, so first of all, fuck anime. Um, just because if I want to get a story, I don't want to have to watch especially with the shonen type of animes, like all this shit with the fighting and having it extend over so long and have so many episodes when I can read a volume, like a paperback manga in like an hour and get, you know, quadruple the amount of story for the amount of time that I put in. Like whenever they're powering up or whatever, getting charging up or whatever their attacks, that'll take like a whole fucking minute in an anime, and in a manga it'll just be like two big splash pages, so I can just look at it and then I'll be like, yeah, that's cool, and then just go on. So, I'm gonna talk about my favorite stuff without spoilers at first, and then maybe I'm gonna talk about Death Note. I think towards the end, because that is my favorite manga of all time, and I'm gonna talk about specific plot details and stuff. But I'll warn you when that's coming up. So, first of all, Death Note. I actually liked it so much that I watched two of the Japanese made live action movies, and they were pretty bad. I watched the entire anime. Um, it's not a shonen, and it only had 37 episodes, so it was good. And I read, of course, all of the mangas. It was being translated as I was reading it, because this was back in 2004, 2005. It seems like a long time ago, but whatever. Um, so what's so great about it? It's like the Breaking Bad of manga. Really, if you liked Breaking Bad, you'll like Death Note, because throughout Breaking Bad, the main thing is that you get to see Walter White turn evil, but in Death Note, it's kind of the same thing. You kind of get to watch the main character change into this evil, depraved son of a bitch, and you also get really technical with all the maneuverings of the main detective L and Light, um, who I guess if you don't know what it's about, it's like what would happen if a really really intelligent person had a notebook where you could write someone's name and you could write their cause of death and then it would happen. So that shit was good, and I read the whole thing. It went 12 volumes, and it had the good goddamn sense to end, which I think is one of the best. I think that's one of the reasons for its popularity. I mean, the art is really, really, really good. The art is fantastic. The story is fantastic, and it's pretty short. And the dubbing to English, that happened after the volumes were translated, and it got sent. I think it was on Cartoon Network during the middle of the day. I can't remember. Anyways, I watched that shit. That came a little bit later, and I watched every single episode as it came out. I would come home from middle school at 4:30, and then be waiting for me just the perfect time. And that was some good shit. And all of my friends read it, and it was good fun. Um, yeah. And so that was I would just roll up in Barnes and Noble and just sit down in the manga section and pick out whatever I was gonna read. Death Note isn't the only thing that I read, and I would basically just treat Barnes and Noble like a library. I think they got tired of people like me, and they kind of moved the manga section years and years later, so that it was facing the aisle, the main aisle where all the books go. like all the little tables with the deals and stuff, so that people couldn't sit down. But fuck it, I'll grab my version, like go up and sit in the Starbucks and read whatever the latest thing is. I haven't read manga in a really dedicated manner in a while. I think because I stopped reading Bleach when it got to the end of the first saga. Because it's like, spoilers, alright, just fuck it. Spoilers, anything that I mention, get ready for spoilers, alright? So, Bleach. When it got to the end of the Aizen saga, and then it's like, Ichigo lost all of his powers, and like he got back to square one. It's like, okay, if you're gonna spend all that time building him up, I know you're gonna like accelerate the plot once, like accelerate the buildup of his powers again, because he like knows all this shit later. But it's just, mysterious figures introducing new characters, and it's just like I don't have the time or energy to get reinvested in another buildup. And even beyond that, like other things like Naruto, which just ended recently, I was really fucking surprised. Cause, I mean, obviously that it's probably been over in Japan for a while, but that shit, fucking Shippuden was going on when I was in 8th grade. Or was it 9th grade? Like, and alright, so that's like 8 years ago. Shippuden was going on already, and it's just now ending. Yeah, so I read like 10 or so Shippudens, and I was like, okay, this is enough. This is enough, Naruto. I don't care enough for all this shit. And I hear like salad. They introduced salad at the very end, so I'm glad I didn't read it. I'm glad I fucked off. And what else did I read? Okay, so you can probably tell that I like short things. Shonen type stuff where they like build up their powers and then they almost die and they get more powerful, and then it's like they build up and there's always someone who's more powerful. That's fine. But like eventually it has to end. So like I like Dragon Ball Z because, they build up their powers and then eventually it ends. I mean, if you want to go into Dragon Ball GT, that's fine. You can go into Dragon Ball GT if you just can't get enough. But like, Dragon Ball Z ends with a nice, satisfying conclusion. Dragon Ball ends with a nice, satisfying conclusion. Like, you can end it. And like the Cell Saga / Android Saga, they were kind of like fused a little bit. That was some good shit. And I read the manga, of course, for that. Like, I'm glad I didn't watch the anime, especially in the Boo saga, cause they like go inside Boo. Like my friend said he was going back to watch it, and then he invited me over and showed me all of this stuff with like they're going inside Boo, they're like wrapped up in tentacles inside his brain, and like Boo has to go take a shit. Just don't even try and tell me that isn't filler. And what else is there? Okay, and a short one that's nice and good is Akira. Akira is some good shit. It seemed like it kind of fell apart towards the end, like somehow the tension was like mishandled. I don't even remember how it ends, to be honest. But one thing that was really good about it was that the world got fucked up. Like Tokyo, like Neo Tokyo, basically became like this lawless zone, and like that happened in the middle, not towards the end. It's like a Final Fantasy VI style, like world-ending event, where everything is fucked, and there's just like in Akira there's like martial law and shit, and like Tetsuo's taking over. Um, so that was fun to watch, and I specifically remember like these two panels that I just busted a gut reading. When like Tetsuo is up in the lab, like trying to find out how he can control his power or whatever, and he finds the other psychic kids, and then he finds like the girl, and she's got her wrinkled face, and she's all like shriveled up, and she's lying in a crib, and he walks up to her and says, "Oh, what a perfect sleeping baby," or something. And then the next panel he says, "Die," and then like lights the crib on fire. So that shit was good. Um, Another thing, I used to also get manga from the library, which is it's kind of dumb, cause like your local library will have like just volume 7 of some this manga or that one, like Yu Yu Hakusho number 7, and you gotta chase down all the different volumes. But like one manga that was kind of just contained in one volume that I really distinctly remember because it like blew my mind was something like the Phoenix manga. Okay, so it's by Osamu Tezuka. I think he's the same person that does Robo Boy or whatever that Astro Boy. I think he's the same guy. And like how do I explain it? It's really old. Um and it's like there are a bunch of stories and they're all kind of fucked up. Like like they go into the past, they go into the future, and the single thread connecting all these stories is this like phoenix that is like immortal and like watches over humans, and like people are trying to like kill the phoenix and get its blood because they'll live forever, and that happens several times throughout the book, and you can just throughout the books, and you watch as these humans just put themselves in the most degraded and fucked up situations, and there's something about fucking Japanese mangas that they they're it's just weird. Okay, it's just weird. Other things that are weird. Akira is weird. There are lots of things in that that'll strike you, and like they're very memorable because they're just so you don't expect it. You don't expect just the weirdness. Like in one of the Phoenix parts, like this guy, he becomes immortal, and then the whole human race is completely destroyed, and he has to live forever and ever, and he eventually degrades and just becomes like a blob of ectoplasm because his physical form is degrading, but he's still immortal, and he eventually has to like create new life by mixing together some chemicals and throwing it into the ocean, and then later he like becomes like incorporeal, and like a new race of sentient beings arises on the planet, like these slugs, and he has to warn them because one tribe is trying to kill the other with like nukes and shit, and he's like, "Oh, that's how humans killed themselves off. Don't do it." And it's like, what the fuck is going on? So I definitely recommend that one. Um, yeah, there's a lot of fucked up shit in there. What else is there? Yu Yu Hakusho is like another shonen one, and it's old, and it's over, but I think it's still good. One Piece, if you watch or read One Piece past a certain point, I'm gonna say like past like 10 without giving up, then you must be 5 years old, cause One Piece sucks. if you're a fan of Naruto, definitely go check out Naruto Abridged on YouTube, because Naruto Abridged is hilarious. It didn't end with the series. It actually ended around the time of like halfway or most of the way through the original like test trials that they were going through when Orochimaru like first invaded the Leaf Village. Yeah, so pretty early on. Not even Shippuden level, but it's still hilarious. Um, and then there is Dragon Ball Z Abridged, of course, which is also classic. And Team Force Star is still doing stuff, I think. They're still making things like Attack on Titan, which I actually read recently, and it was all right. I mean, I was hoping that people would die a little bit more. I thought it would be like Game of Thrones, where like people legitimately die, and towards the end of the first volume, I was like, oh boy, all these people are actually dying, but then like either they were unimportant, or they didn't actually die, or they came back to life, like the main guy, and eventually I just kind of lost interest in that one. Have I read anything else? I wonder. So Death Note, right? Absolutely fucking hilarious. Um, and smart. Like, if you haven't in a while, definitely go back and watch the anime version of the final scene in the warehouse, and especially the part when Light like admits that he's Kira, because it's just fucking awesome. I mean, even though at the time I was really disappointed that Light uh, got caught basically. He got fucked over in the last little bit because Mikami was stupid and didn't trust him to take care of things. And like Mikami made a mistake, and Light's only mistake was trusting Mikami to go through with the plan. And it was just so disappointing. Like I was waiting for those people to die, and then I read the comics, and there's like a certain panel where you just know that it's all over for Light, and then fucking Rook turns on him, and you're just like, ugh, fuck that. So those are my manga memories. I'm kind of sometimes reading JoJo. Oh, one last one recommendation. Read the first few volumes of The Drifting Classroom. Like, it kind of gets stupid after a while, but it's a bit freaky. Like, it's basically like this school is transported to hell, and all the kids and the teachers have to like try to make their own society, which of course doesn't work. It's kind of like a Lord of the Flies situation, or like a Walking Dead type situation. So that's pretty good, but it gets kind of stupid and silly after a while. Bobobo, also, not scary, but just goddamn hilarious. Like, there was this one volume that I got, which, it was like him versus the guy who has the power of money. He's like super wealthy, and it's this one long volume with like 200 pages, and it just keeps going on. It's so hilarious. I recommend that you pick up the manga version of that, even though Bobo, like other volumes of it, can get kind of lame. But if you're like a middle schooler, or it's good shit. Elementary schooler, if you're one of those cool kids who learns about manga in elementary school, yeah, pick that shit up. Also, learn to like My Chemical Romance and Green Day and all that shit. Or maybe those bands are old hat. Maybe there's other stuff now. But I'm not that old, goddammit. Anyways, those are my thoughts on manga. JoJo, I think I'm gonna like. I really haven't even got out of the first saga yet, but I think it's a good thing that each one, like, it has little stories in it. Because one of the worst things about manga is when it just goes on and on. And I understand, because, like, you don't make, like, if you have a hit manga, you want to keep it going for as long as possible. You don't want to make it end, but, don't be Naruto. Don't be One Piece with, like, 50 plus editions, and it's just like, God, stop. Don't be Bleach. You know, oh no, Aizen Saga ended. We could end this manga right now, but we're not going to. We're going to make it go on and just be dumb. And then you end up with salad. Yeah, I don't really like mangas where the ending is salad. Anyways, that's that. One love.